Yeah, I'm gonna feel that I'm gonna definitely chase something out of this review. Anyway, hey everybody, what's up? This is Retrokid Reviews, looking more Johnny Lawrence, halfway into the final season of Cobra Kai. My mom and I are watching the first half of the season. I'll probably go back to that, a big, I want to say, rundown of TV and movies I watched in between what's going to be obviously out this week. A little indie called, I don't know, Devil and Wolverine. I really wanted to say versus. It should have been a versus. I don't know why. It just feels like it. Anyway, that being said, and with the power back on, I guess channel wise, no kayfabe. I just want to get the bare bones review of Twisters. I saw it yesterday as of this recording, and amazing what 24 Hours does to a decent haircut and not bad Glen Powell vehicle for probably not really much afterwards. The rest of the year wise. Speaking of said Glen Powell, how was he trying to live up to, I guess, not really Glenn, Bill Paxton level stakes? Close, but close enough. I kind of want to get the setup out of the way. Daisy Yeager's, I think, Kate character was a whole cold open with her and her friends trying to, like, disrupt a storm, I think in the middle of storm season in Oklahoma, so much like the original, except for the disrupting part. I thought it was going to go into the realm of, like, Fast and Furious pseudo-science rules, which it was almost there at times, the more she was talking on about the mixture and everything, but the big spoilers, since I'm almost assuming some of you may have saw it, because box office wise it overperformed than what everyone thought it was going to get, myself included. I thought it would have got a good 45 to 50 mil to kick off and probably get back their $200 million budget. No, we got 80 plus out of the gate, so that's a good sign if anything else. So I'll give Emblem Entertainment that. Another thing I forgot to mention when I was doing the retro review last week is that Emblem flipped the bill for the original movie because this was more or less a Stephen King. It's not. I was going to say King. Well, a lot of Stevens. Anyway, Steven Spielberg production by way of, I think, Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park fame, writing the script. So it was not ironic to have that shirt out. It was an Easter egg. It was like 1 in the morning. I was house sitting with the whole thing, if you saw the footage. So back on the new movie, the cold open was not bad. Some of what you saw in the trailer was there. It got a little serious before going 5 years into the future and Kate being here in good old New York. Long story short, it was a good, like, old school side cut to get her back into the game kind of thing, which was the big setup for most of the plot that was in the marketing material for this movie. Is like, hey, you've been out of the store, you've been out of chasing for a couple of years. Hey, let's get you back in the field, see what happens. That's kind of the crux of Anthony Ramos' character. The big thing I was worried about that he wasn't getting a lot of screen time, for those who don't know, the last time I was here on the channel, is that I reviewed him in Transformers Rise of the Beast, Card 2. And for my first showing of the guy before getting into this movie, it was an okay outing. I could have seen the potential he was getting from In the Heights kind of days. So I got a better showing here. I'll say that for both movies' case, this and the previous movie I just mentioned in Ramos's filmography. Now on to the main attraction. What do I think of Glen Powell? For the long and story short, I did not talk about Top Gun Maverick, where I think he made the case that he could be the next, like, Val Kilmer or the next whatever main guy of, like, the last couple of years of Hollywood. It's a good showing. It's a good debut of him. What is amazing of a debut is that I didn't know that David Cornswell, the upcoming Superman next year, was basically going to take the carry-all list role of, like, no, we're in it for the money, we don't really care, we're just doing this to buy up land and stuff. Yeah, so that's mainly the big crux of the spoilers there. For the storms themselves, since we got time to wrap up, I'll talk about the surprise cameo that I didn't even I know in my heart that I couldn't get in time. I'll explain that in a minute. The storms themselves are definitely changed as time went on. Clearly, because almost 30 years of CG has changed in between. I don't know if ILM or I don't know if it's still debunked or still here. The Band for the Ranch CG team came back to do any, like, VFX work for the storms of this movie. The big crux, again, going off the stuff you've probably seen in the few trailers, is the set pieces of the rodeo, I want to say, sequence was probably the best good use of, like, tricking you to think there's some more practical than I think there probably was. Glenn and Daisy Edgar Jones's characters pretty much dropped, like, the pseudo beef they're gonna have of how one's a traditional scientist and the other's a guy that's in it for the, well, really the clicks. Turns out as time goes on, yeah, he is a content creator, same, but he does, when the cameras are down, they actually are helping out in aftermath, and that's kind of the thing in Ramos's company's case is like, yeah, we could kind of do it, but we're really just gonna recommend him places, not really actually help. So that's kind of how it is. Is there any sexual tension between Powell and Edgar Jones's characters? A little bit, not much. I think there's probably more in that comedy that I forgot to mention with what's her name? Yeah, go to that trailer because I really don't have time. Anyway, the storms themselves, like I said, are more powerful, more versatile. And they give you more signs of what's like a weaker one that does capsize as time goes on. Don't know if that's a real science, and I kind of wanted to know because as of this recording, I kind of got left hanging with one of my family friends who actually is a real-life storm chaser, and I think him and his wife might have saw a screener to this movie, so again, can't confirm myself. I'll see if, I'll talk about that probably the end of the year for this review, top 5 wise. Anyway, the best sequence I want to say, like I said, was the rodeo that you guys saw in the trailers, but the few bits of, like, the theater you guys kind of glimpse of almost sucking that I think, Glenn Powell's, I guess, entourage of his, I guess, characters as well, yeah, it's a good sequence as itself. The thing about, like I said with the original movie, is that the trucks themselves are kind of characters of their own, kind of in the Speed, John DeBon, kind of mentality. Sort of there in spirit. You get a lot more coverage, I think, on Glenn Powell's truck than you probably get on the other guys. Dodge Ram Rise, which means that was probably the most heavily modified to not get broken on set, given probably current day, product placement and stuff like that. But yeah, the theater was a really good action sequence. It does give me a lot of reminders of the drive-in sequence from the original movie. Made sense to make that the whole third act of like that small town just getting hit the hardest and just everyone dropping the BS just to go in. Well, I say everyone, but everyone in Ramos's character's evil corp sense is like, no, we're just gonna wait till after the fact and we'll just like pick up their houses and stuff and just calculate it in a different way. The thing about those guys is that they're still trying to run the old movie mentality of just like tracking it and get a better earlier detection. And I think it'll land developer just to like get ready for like more reinvestments or some shit like that. A lot of housing stuff that I think I don't want my whatever demo I have of my channel to be bogged down with this much noise. But if you've seen like actual disasters the last couple of years and actually had to see housing basically run up the charges there, you kind of get the idea where you're walking back into essentially if you live in those areas. So my bad in advance if I misremembered or misannounced anything, mainly because the director of this movie, Lee Isaac Chung, if I got his name right, was the director of Minari. And actually, I didn't see Minari, but I know basically that movie was, I believe, Steven Yeun playing, I think, a pseudo-biography of Lee Isaac Chung's life in Oklahoma, as well as as a family coming from China going into. Wow, can you tell I haven't seen Minari? I've heard nothing but recommendations, but a lot of like his life was being captured into that movie, and I guess coming back into Twisters made sense Oklahoma-wise since he was I think an Arkansas regular, so that kind of makes sense to like keep it in like in the vibes of it if anything else. So final call, and I guess more because judgment time for this movie ratings wise. It's a good 7.5 out of 10. If you're not in it just to see the star power of Glenn Powell, there's a lot of decent action sequences to keep it going. There's a lot of tension for the twisters than you probably got from the original movie. It's in that same caliber, just needed a couple more I don't know, not much I guess effects wise just to push it into like pseudo in the wheelhouse of like the late 90s of like disaster movies vibes, so it was definitely going for. For Daisy Edgar Jones, this is also my first showing seeing her, and like I said with a coin sword earlier, and I want to see more of her work. I want to see more of her biography. I heard she had a decent horror movie called Fresh from Hulu a few years back, with a MC regular who probably might show up in Captain America, not Winter Soldier. Long story short, also, that guy might also end up being in a Trump biopic, given what's going on last week. That'd be interesting, saying the least. So yeah, pitching probably future projects aside, What did you think of the movie yourself? Did you go see it in theaters? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm gonna try my best to get back to full figure form mode. Obviously for Deadpool Wolverine later this weekend. And obviously in between, I'm gonna try my best this week also to do a TV rundown of The Acolyte and The Bears finale. And like I said, catch up with as much TV and movies as I can. I did see Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley a few weeks back. Forgot to put it here. I'll probably do a quick short if anything else, if I don't have time for that in the rundown. If anything else, it'll probably get recommended. It'll probably get honorable mentions in my top 5 end of the year stuff. Just saying that right from the gate. So, cards finally here to, well, since we're going to be in theme with Deadpool and Wolverine this week, Wolverine here to the short playlist. Yeah, shorts are coming first because of that final trailer. And it did numbers-wise. If hopefully that cameo is true and they didn't just, blue balls last minute. But speaking of Wade almost doing that, go to him over here to my previous video, which was, again, talking about my thoughts on the original movie back in '96. Like I said, Johnny Lawrence looking gear, last minute. This is what casual looks like outside of the channel. Sorry. Yeah, to sub the channel, hit the notification bell down below for when, like I said, that TV rundown comes out later this week before the Deadpool Wolverine review this weekend. So with probably yet another busy week of content, and oh yeah, a Comic-Con also happening this week as well. So we'll probably get more teasers of what's going on with MCU, because I am very much aware that they had a bit of a Sony style hack of their own. I'll try to leave news of it down below if that's actually true. And until then, and probably more Ryan Reynolds having the most obvious victory lap, getting that guy in the MCU aside. This is Retrokid Review saying, so Glenn Powell's not going to need Booster Gold, right? Because everything about that guy just screams Booster Gold energy, right? Right? Or is it just Camille Nanjiani? Is it just me?